Everybody, it's Jacob with Georgia Solar Pros here. Wrapping up another ground mount project. It's a rainy, dreary day in middle Georgia, and I just wanted to highlight some of the benefits of having ground mount solar over roof mount solar. One of the big ones, it's going to be easier to clean. Solar doesn't really take a lot of servicing, but we do usually recommend cleaning your panels off once a year, maybe twice a year, depending on how much dust or pollen is in the area. And this is easily something that you can do yourself with ground mounted panels. If you have roof mounted panels and a steep roof, that can be a lot of work and a lot of cost if you're going to have a contractor come out and clean your panels, which may be necessary depending on the pitch and the accessibility of your roof. Second is going to be production. So this ground mount array is facing right at due south at around a 30-degree angle, which is going to be the optimal angle and orientation to maximize the production out of these panels. Whenever we place the panels on the roof, they may be shaded, they may be facing a less than optimal direction. And with a ground mount, we can place the panels where there's not going to be any shade, where they're angled optimally to where you can get the absolute maximum production that your panels are capable of delivering based on your location. And that's not always going to be the case with a roof mount. Another thing with production is actually airflow around the panels. When panels are mounted flush on your roof, it can get a little bit hotter in the summer. When panels get hot, they're going to be a little bit less efficient. So another benefit of ground mount is just the airflow around a ground mount. Another benefit is you can really get a lot of added production out of using bifacial panels. So this ground mount here, it's using bifacial panels, which if you look at the back, that actually means they don't have a flat back sheet. You actually can see the solar cells on the back. And on these bifacial ground mount projects, any reflectivity, especially like on a dreary day like today, the panels are going to be able to suck up a little bit more power from the backside. So whenever you have roof mounted panels, they're laying flat against the roof, that bifacial gain, you're not going to be able to realize it as much. So that's one other benefit of bifacial panels. Another benefit is actually going to be a simpler design. And this is something we hear pretty often, that, microinverters are the best thing out there. And while they certainly have their use cases, that's not always going to be the case. A central inverter is actually going to be more efficient if you've got a ground mount like this where all the panels are facing right at due south. So one of the benefits of using ground mounts is that you can deploy systems with central inverters without module level power electronics such as microinverters, optimizers, or rapid shutdown devices. And that's going to do two things. One, it's going to keep the equipment cost a little bit lower. Ground mounts can cost a little bit more just due to the trenching and the hardware, but that can be balanced out by not having to have these module level power electronics. Another benefit of not having these module level power electronics is keeping the overall design a little bit simpler. And here at Georgia Solar Pros, we always design our systems to be service friendly, and we want to minimize the potential amount of components that could fail or would have to be serviced. So we've seen that module level power electronics like microinverters, like optimizers, they're one of the more common components of a solar installation that is going to be prone to failure. And if you're doing roof mounted panels, by the code, you have to have rapid shutdown. With a ground mount, that's not required. We just have to have a shut off like what we've got over here. And that's going to keep the design a little bit simpler. There's less parts that can fail. And in the rare event that something does fail, it's going to be a lot easier to service. Depending on your roof, if we've got a panel go bad or an optimizer or a microinverter go bad, it could be very difficult to access. It could take two installers. It could take tying off with a rope. It could open the door for a lot of potential service work or added cost for service work outside of your warranty period. So with a ground mount, you've got a simpler design. There's a lot less that can fail. And if anything does fail, it's going to be a lot easier to fix. And one of the last benefits is going to be one of the more obvious ones, is you don't have to have panels on your roof. Here at Georgia Solar Pros, we do offer roof mounted systems, and we will match your roofer's warranty up to 20 years. So we'll stand behind our work, we'll stand behind our penetrations, but with roof mounted panels, they're eventually going to have to come off. 20, 30 years down the road, whenever the roof needs replaced or whenever the panels hit the end of life. And that's a cost that's not often talked about on the front end whenever systems are sold. So whenever you're evaluating your savings on a solar project, the replacement cost of getting the panels off the roof to have the roof redone is something that you need to account for, and that's something that you don't have to account for with a ground mount system. And last, here at Georgia Solar Pros, we do warranty all our roof penetrations, but the roof penetrations are usually only going to be as good as the installer that puts them in. And unfortunately, we're not always seeing the highest quality installs here in South Georgia, North Florida. A lot of the other contractors operating in this area may not have the most experience, and roof leaks is something that we see pretty often. We get called for service calls for systems we didn't install, and we're having to fix roof leaks from misinstalled solar flashings, and obviously all of that goes away with a ground mount. So if you're interested in solar, specifically ground mount solar, give us a call. We're glad to talk, go over your options, see if it makes sense. We offer grid tie systems. We offer systems with battery backup. We can do partial home backup. We can do whole home backup. Or if you just want to have a net zero installation to where you have a grid tied setup that's producing the same amount of energy as your home uses, we can help you accomplish that. So if you've got more questions, if you're interested in getting a quote and you're in the middle to South Georgia and North Florida markets, those are the areas that we install these pile-driven ground mount systems. Feel free to give us a call. You can reach us at 229-463-3137 or visit our website, and you can fill out the consultation form at georgiasolarpros.com. But thanks for your interest, and have a good rest of your day.